Hey, what is up, YouTube? So today, a lot of people have been asking me, is Venom Gyre good in 3.21? Did it get changed? Is it better than before? Is it worse than before? How did the Masteries affect it? Does the Pathfinder changes affect it? And how is the Crucible weapon passive tree going to affect it? Well, I have all the answers for you today. I actually looked into it quite a bit, kind of a little bit confused, but there's one change that really makes it so that Venom Gyre will not fail no matter what you do. You can be a baby playing the skill and you will still be able to level up the skill really early on and everything is going to be perfect. So Venom Gyre has had quite a meteoric rise in the ranks through the past leagues. I think if you look back 2-3 leagues ago, Venom Gyre was like 0% played. And the skill never really got changed, but a little bit more exposure turned Venom Gyre into one of the most popular skills at League Start. So this is day 2 of Sanctum League. Venom Gyre was at 7%, and Seismic Trap and Exsanguinate are the same builds. So theoretically, Venom Gyre is the 3rd most popular League Starter. And yeah, it was really strong, but it had one main problem, which is that a lot of people struggled with it in Sanctum because Venom Gyre does require you to melee on top of the mob in order to get the maximum amount of damage. Now, it wasn't that bad in Sanctum, but it was just annoying, especially for a lot of beginners who kind of struggled with the league mechanic compared to doing it with Explosive Arrow or some traps or some totems. But overall, TLDR in 3.21, Venom Gyre received some huge buffs that will make early game leveling a breeze and also solve some of the biggest late game issues that the build actually has. So let's get straight into it. This right here is the #1 change that will turn Venom Gyre into an absolute powerhouse, which is the fact that you can have Adrenaline up nearly 24/7. If you haven't seen the tech, go check out my other video for a thorough explanation. But TLDR, the tech is that every single time you change stance, you'll gain Adrenaline for 1 second. So what you do is you change stances between Blood Stance and Sand Stance, and you can do this by putting the stance on your left click and have it on always attack without moving, and you'll change it every single time you move. And then you have the cooldown recovery just from leveling up the skill gem, and that will allow you to get permanent Adrenaline. And what Adrenaline gives you is 100% increased damage, 25% increased attack, cast, and movement speed, and also 10% physical damage reduction. And we are running Berserk in our setup, so we'll be having the extra damage reduction on top of more physical damage reduction, and also more attack speed multiplier to scale the Adrenaline's effect. Now, with this new tech in stance swapping, Venom Gyre can easily get it, and this is also something that you can do while leveling. So if we actually look right here, this is where you go down to get the stance swapping. So this one, Onslaught, if you've changed stances recently, and right here you can see gain Adrenaline for 1 second. Now later on, when you don't want this part of the tree, you will even be able to get it right here because they recently added an attack mastery over here. Now this attack mastery is super big because it allows us to get an extra projectile, and this does help out a lot for leveling. Now on the topic of leveling, a lot of people lastly use Poisonous Concoction to level, but Poisonous Concoction kind of got completely obliterated in the last patch. So the way Poisonous Concoction now works is that every single projectile will cost 1 flash charge. So if you use Greater Volley and GMP, you could be using 9 life flash charges, while before you were capped to 2 per attack. So this makes it almost impossible to use Poisonous Concoction if you want a shotgun with it. Now I have been doing a lot of League Start testing off stream just to kind of bring you guys the best experience possible. And you can actually swap to Venom Gyre super early on. This is a level 42 character in the first lab. And someone showed this to me in Discord. So the tech here is that you use dual wielding, and then you use the claw and a dagger. And it's not like my weapons are that good. So this is the dagger and this is the claw. But overall, the damage is pretty good, even without any crazy, items. And for this, for the first lab, we actually ended up taking Tailwind. So just to see what it actually looks like. Now this is a very rudimentary character. So I am using LMP. Oh no. Well, you see, sometimes the character sucks. Okay. But basically, yeah, I mean, the build's not very, it's kind of squishy, right?
I'm not up to that just
Something
yet.
is wrong though. Oh, I don't have enough mana. But you can see the clear is perfectly fine. Just make sure you, and then for the rare, look, that rare got obliterated, right? Or wait, did it get obliterated? No. So we're leveling up a little bit. So you can swap to it very early. It remains to be seen whether this is the best time to swap to it. Wow, we actually got this item. It's unethical. So you can swap to it pretty early, but you can also level with bows for quite a while. And it really depends on what you want to do. But you can see Venom Gyre is able to be swapped to in Act 1. And it's honestly kind of speedy. I was actually very surprised at the damage. It turns out the dual wield nodes are really just that powerful. But basically, bow leveling is super strong early on because you have early Sniper's Mark, you have Rain of Arrows with point blank, and the end early game tree is near identical. So later on, I'm going to make a full leveling guide, and I will do it on stream. So you can check out the VOD there of a full leveling run. We're going to try to level with Rain of Arrows early on, and then we're going to swap to Venom Gyre after the first lab. And the funny thing is there's actually a lot of incentive to potentially level as dual wielding because of this thing. So there's this new claw mastery they have that is 10% or inherent attack speed bonus from dual wielding is double while wielding 2 claws. So that means if you dual wield, you actually can get 20% more attack speed because the inherent bonus is 10%. So 20% more attack speed is going to feel super, super nice. And I do think that for those DPS warriors out there who want to get maximum speed, that dual wielding will potentially be a great alternative to using a shield. Now, the passive tree also got changed a little bit. The passive tree, we do get +1 projectile, and this is absolutely huge. Venom Gyre is a shotgunning skill, and being able to get an additional projectile is a complete game changer, especially in early game. So this will synergize very well with endless munitions on Deadeye, allowing us to get 3 projectiles for free without having to invest into any LMP or GMP sort of stuff. Now, one thing that kind of got changed is that they removed a lot of the reservation masteries for like Grace and Precision. So in order to take all of our auras from before and having to run Blood and Sand now, we have to probably take a mana mastery or some sort of mana node. So you can probably get it over right here is the really easy to get mana mastery node, or over here is another one right here. Unfortunately, this is a leech mastery and not a mana mastery. But basically, a lot of people will have to take it, but you're not really losing points because before you were still taking a Grace Mastery or Determination Mastery or something like that. Now, Claws have that new Dual Wield Mastery, and then they also have some other stuff. So one thing that we do have to solve now is that Mana Leech is going to be a problem, so we probably have to take this, or maybe we can get it from a mana node somewhere else, or we can get it also on the Claw Mastery with dual wielding. You can get on gain 25 mana per enemy hit with offhands. So they got rid of that 1% damage leech as life and 1% damage leech as mana portion of it. Now they also kind of changed around the Elemental Mastery. So if we're doing Secrets of Suffering, we're not going to have that 40% effect of non-damaging ailments. They also got rid of the 15% all res. So it will make gearing a little bit harder. Now Spell Suppression Mastery got changed around in the sense that we no longer have 100% critical strike chance, but instead we're going to be taking chance to suppress spell damage as lucky. And this is actually a pretty big benefit because as you can see right here, if you just take this wheel over here and it's chance to suppress spell damage, and you take this node right here with no gear on at all. Oh wait, but we don't have the evasion. So you have 47% and then plus 15%. You're going to have around, let's say, you're going to have around like 80 to 90% effective spell suppression if you have like 60%, right? 36, yeah. So it's going to be a really, really nice early game thing in a sense that we don't really need to even consider spell suppression on our gear, and we're going to have very, very high spell suppression. Now, a lot of people don't understand that a lot of the damage you take from spells is oftentimes a lot of little hits. You'll still maybe die to that one shot every now and then with 90% effective spell suppression, but in most cases in softcore, it is more than enough to play the game and feel like you're not instantly dying all the time. Now, the Attack Mastery is the one that you grant permanent adrenaline with stand swapping, so that's the one over here with the multi-shot. Now, Life Mastery is something that I'm kind of a little bit concerned about because we actually lose out on the 10% life. Now, this thing right here, 15% increased maximum life. There's no life modifiers on equipped body armor. Could potentially be good if we're running some sort of unique chest that has no life on it, or even a rare chest that has no life. So that's something else to keep in mind, but we probably need to maybe take a few more life nodes elsewhere to make up for that life mastery. But overall, I would have to say that there's a lot of interesting options in the passive tree of Masters, but I think the biggest takeaway is that the permanent adrenaline and the one additional projectile, the easy access to cap spell suppression, will pretty much offset any of the bad parts of the Masteries. Now, this thing right here there's one's called hits have 25% chance to treat enemy monster elemental resistances values as inverted. Not really sure if this works with the base monster resist or if it takes into account your penetration and then it inverts it, but that's something to keep in mind. I do think that this is going to be mandatory to take early game, especially when we don't have that much pen, and then there's also access to pen over here, Forces of Nature. So overall, I do think that the tree is a huge benefit for Venom Gyre in 3.21. Now, this is something that next up is one of the biggest issues that people have with the build is that you actually degen life because we're going to be using Comb Spirit for Perma Berserk, which means that our regeneration applies to rage instead of our life. Now, with the new Pathfinder node, we are actually able to steal one of the best nodes I've seen in a while that addresses one of the biggest weaknesses of this build, which is the life recovery aspect. So we can steal Master Surgeon, what makes it so that life last effects are not removed when unreserved life is filled, and life last effects do not queue, and 50% less life recovery from flasks. So that means when we're bossing, we can have regen even though we're not attacking. And I do think that that is one of the biggest weaknesses of the Venom Gyre build, is that for bossing, when there's nothing to attack, like say you're doing some sort of some maze or the Maven memory game and you're taking damage and you have nothing to leech off of, this is actually a huge game changer, especially if we're running Blood Rage and we're constantly degenning our life. I do think that that quality of life bonus from having Master Surgeon is definitely going to be worth it. It remains to be seen how much the Forbidden Jewel is, but this is at least allows us with enough currency to solve one of the biggest weaknesses. Now, overall, the leveling will be different without Poison's Concoction, but it should be a smoother experience and transition because the tree for leveling is more or less identical with or without bows. We're not really taking any bow nodes, and I will be doing the leveling on stream and making a video about it. But I think the Perma Adrenaline is just going to be so good, and the Perma Onslaught from down there is just too much. It will pretty much compensate for anything that happened. Now, I do think another thing that needs to be mentioned is there's a huge potential for dual wielding, especially with the new Claw Mastery, and that really depends on how good the Crucible weapon passive trees are, because the weapon passive trees has a different passive tree than the shield. So if the weapon passive tree is completely game-breaking, I could almost be tempted into dual wielding. And like I said, recovery can be fixed with the Pathfinder Forbidden Jewel. And lastly, I do think the way to go is still Permanent Berserk. Permanent Berserk is done through the Comb Spirit gloves, and it does give you that little bit of damage reduction, or not little, from Berserk. But thanks for watching, everyone. I do think that Venom Gyre remains probably one of the best, if not the best, League starter in 3.21, and it is a great way to transition into a bow build that a lot of people are looking forward to, whether that be Vol Lightning Arrow or the generic Tornado Shot. But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more Mirrors, Divines, and Mage Bloods than me, and see you next time. Bye!